Good morning everyone. So before we start with the Gauss law, I'll explain a solved example which is given in your textbook. This example is very important for the understanding of charge distribution, and similar examples will come again and again in the chapters ahead. So in this example, I'll quickly explain it. In this example, we take a ring. A ring is a wire, so the charge on it will have linear charge density. It is not a surface, so it will not have surface charge density, it will have linear charge density. A point P is taken at a distance x from the center of the ring, and we have to find the electric field intensity at this point P. Now yesterday I told you that if we have any problems in finding the electric field intensity due to a surface or electric flux passing through a surface, then we can divide that surface into many small parts, find the electric field due to one part, and then integrate it over a closed surface. So we'll apply the same approach here. So we take two parts A and B, both small length parts, so their lengths are dl and this is also dl. Now the distance of P from A is r, and suppose this angle is theta. Center point is O and the radius of the ring is capital R. Now the electric field intensity because of A, suppose it is E1. So it is a positive charge, so electric field intensity will be outward. So at point P, the electric field intensity will go like this. So because of this small charge, we have small electric field dE1. If this is theta, then this will also be equal to theta. If we resolve this component of dE1 along the x and y axis, then on this axis we will get dE1 cos theta, and on this axis dE1 sin theta. Similarly, because of B, we'll have dE2, same things, dE2 sin theta, dE2 cos theta. Now since both the length elements have same charge, they have same length, that means dE2 and dE1 will be equal. That means dE2 sin theta and dE1 sin theta will be equal in magnitude. Since they are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction, so they will cancel each other. So the resultant field is equal to dE1 cos theta plus dE2 cos theta. Now dE1, I'll write it separately. dE1 equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Now I will replace k with 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. dq upon r square. Similarly, dE2 is also equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught dq upon r square. So both are equal, so we can treat these two as same variable. Now the electric field at P due to the entire loop, what we will do, we will integrate. So E equals to closed integral over the entire line, because it's a line, curved line, dE cos theta. Because all the components of different dl, this dl, it will also have cos theta component along this side. All the components will have their cos theta on in the same direction, and all the sin thetas will cancel each other. So we can write dE cos theta and integrate it over this surface. Substitute dE, cos theta equals to x upon r from this triangle. Also yesterday I told you lambda equals to dq by dl, so dq equals to lambda dl. So we can substitute, instead of dq we can write lambda dl, and instead of cos theta we can write x upon r. So the resultant that we get will be if we integrate this, now we are integrating over the line, over this line. So we integrate all the dl, then what will we get? If we add all the dl, we will get the circumference of the ring. Now circumference of the ring is equal to 2 pi r. So that means the integration will be equal to 2 pi r. So you will get E equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught lambda x upon r cube into 2 pi r. Now the remaining solution part can be easily understood in your book only. So this was an important question, so you must know about the solution. Now we'll start with Gauss law. So we'll straight away come to the definition. Gauss law says that the surface integral of electric flux, the surface integral of electric flux over a closed surface is equal to 1 upon epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed in the surface, or Q by epsilon naught. So if I write it mathematically, I will write phi equals to, that is integral of E dot ds. This is the formula for electric flux. This electric flux over this closed surface is equal to Q upon epsilon naught. This is what the Gauss law states. Now there are some important points which are also given in your book. I'll quickly read them and explain the ones which are difficult to understand. The first point is the summation of Q, or the Q represents the algebraic sum of the charges in the closed surface. So that means if the closed surface is a combination of positive and negative charge, then they will cancel each other, and whatever is the resultant charge, that will be the value of Q. Second point, total electric flux is the algebraic sum of electric flux leaving the surface, that is positive, and entering the surface, that is negative. So this point is similar to the above point. It depends on the nature of charge or the accumulation of different charges. Third point, the surface selected to apply Gauss law is called Gaussian surface. The surface that we were forming yesterday, that this is the electric field line and this is the surface. This surface is called Gaussian surface. This surface is called Gaussian surface. For different kinds of materials, for different kind of medium, we can use different Gaussian surface according to our own ease. For example, if there is a straight charge line, then what kind of surface will enclose this line completely? It will be a cylinder. So the Gaussian surface for a linear charge density will be a cylinder. Similarly, for a point which, if suppose there is only one point, one charge, then what can be the Gaussian surface over this point which will completely enclose this charge? That kind of surface will be a sphere. So according to the given situation, we can assume the Gaussian surface according to our convenience. Next point, Gauss law depends only upon the total charge through the closed surface. It does not depend upon shape, area of Gaussian surface. It depends upon the amount of charge, nature, and the medium. So this is fairly easy to understand. So next point, if total charge through a closed surface is 0, then the electric flux associated with the surface will also be 0. Now the total charge in a closed surface is 0 when it can be possible. Either first case in which this condition is possible is there is equal amount of positive and negative charge, then both the electric field lines will be in opposite direction, hence the resultant flux will be equal to 0. Or the Gaussian surface is taken as such that the charge or the electric field lines entering the surface is equal to the electric field lines exiting the surface. In that case, the total flux inside the surface or the total flux of the system will be equal to 0. Next point, Gauss's law is valid only for those vector field that follow inverse square law. Which square law, such kind of law we studied in this unit? It was Coulomb's law. It was an inverse square law. So what this point is essentially saying, that Gauss law is valid only if you can apply Coulomb's law on the given system. If you are not able to apply Coulomb's law, if the system is such that it is not following Coulomb's law, then Gauss law of electricity will also not be applied on that kind of system. Next point, the electric field at a point on Gaussian surface is the resultant electric field at that point. This electric field is obtained by the vector sum of electric fields produced by the charges inside or the outside of the surface. The term on right hand side of Gauss law, that is Q upon epsilon naught, represents the total charge through the surface. For special conditions, the total flux leaving the surface can be zero. However, the value of electric field on a Gaussian surface can be non-zero. So it is a special case when the total flux is zero, but electric field on the surface is not zero. Why? Because Gauss law contains only that electric field lines which are closed by the system. Suppose if there is a charge outside the surface, then that charge will also have its electric field lines passing through the Gaussian surface. So in that case, the Gauss law or the flux will be zero because charge is outside the surface, but there will be some electric field passing through the point. If you need more clarification on this point, you can message me later. Last point, there is no contribution in the flux leaving the surface by the charges situated outside the closed surface. That is, if we want to apply Gauss law, then we have to not include the charges which are outside the surface. Only those charges which are inside the surface will be considered, not the outside ones. So these were some important points of the Gauss law. All of these are given in the book. Go through them. If you have any difficulty in any point, ask me again. So today we'll do this much only, proof of Gauss law, and the further topics that we will continue in the next class. Thank you.